Well, this Christmas season we have been blessed with the best Star Wars prequel ever, and that, of course, is Rogue One. As most of you know, it has as its protagonists the rebel spies that sent the information to Princess Leia that would lead to the destruction of the Death Star. And in this movie, they even say officially it's called the Death Star. I don't remember any such thing in the first movie, except for in the opening crawl, of course. It was always that battle station, that battle station. Anyhow, everybody knows what it is, so. Well, basically, we have, as with The Force Awakens, the hero is a female. And we also have a badass blind Jedi that has one of the best lines in the movie, and he is played by Asian star Donnie Yen. So he makes the most out of his smaller part, and Darth Vader certainly does too. He totally, especially at the climax, is a highlight. He shows us why he is the villain that we came to know and love to hate, and it's almost frightening, and it's very frightening for the rebel soldiers. Very, very effective, very well done, as is the rest of the movie. I think Forrest Whitaker, it was kind of something of a pleasant surprise that Forrest Whitaker was in the, to see in the previews he was in it, but his part's sort of disappointing. It doesn't contribute a whole lot, I think, to the whole movie. He had a fairly small part, and it wasn't that important during his part. So we also have, Mads Mikkelsen, who is popped up on the big screen and the small screen. He's the heroine's dad who reluctantly is pressured to create the Death Star, and he kind of explains why he kind of explains the serious flaw in the Death Star's design, which is, of course, as everybody knows, the crux of this movie and A New Hope. So let's see. He was on NBC's Hannibal. He played Le Chiffre, the villain in Casino Royale, and he was the villain in Doctor Strange, which was the movie I saw before this. But I understand some of the naysayers complaining that the main characters in here aren't the most largest, the most larger than life, heroic, distinct character. But it didn't really necessarily hurt the movie. It was kind of more like they were the collective star, and of course they still had the heroine and cohort that were kind of a little bit more important as far as their roles. Point is what they did and how they did it, and it results in one of the most spectacular Star Wars battles ever. We see a battle in space, and we see mostly some of the familiar old spaceships from previous Star Wars movies, and there's a ground battle, and there's so much heroism and sacrifice, and that is kind of what drives the movie. The first half isn't as bad as some people say, but it isn't the best part, but it's as good a build-up, at least, as any other good movie. And it's certainly worth it, because the battle during the last third or so is just it's a classic Hollywood battle. And so I say this, I think this is a really good movie. I think it's really good, and let's just say there isn't much chance of there being a sequel to it unless you count the already existing New Hope, which of course started it all without the New Hope subtitle. Somebody even mentioned on Facebook there's already a sequel to Rogue One. It's called A New Hope. Well, this movie, Also, I mean, it ends like it ends a few minutes, an hour, a half hour before A New Hope, you could say. And of course, Darth Vader still has his bitter, dark humor, and also one of the main bad guys, his mostly white Imperial costume was one of my favorite, spiffiest costumes in the whole movie, no matter what the aliens and everybody else wears. There's also some controversy over how they rendered Governor Tarkin so they wouldn't have to, replace the late Peter Cushing, with someone that's alive. And some people didn't think it came off that well. Some people almost act like, some people think that some people might almost think of it as grave robbing. At least it's a little harsh, but I'm thinking, are people going to really liken it to that? Because some people think that some people kind of might, and maybe they have, but I think the effect, considering that Peter Cushing has been dead and all that, it works very well, and it works just about as well for the brief time we see Princess Leia in the last scene, and kind of like when we saw Luke Skywalker only in the last scene in The Force Awakens, which is kind of an interesting parallel. So this movie, it ends shortly before A New Hope, not years before. And I was even thinking, just a footnote, when Han explains why Luke was in self-imposed exile in The Force Awakens, his explanation of like maybe 2 or 3 sentences, Disney's probably going to make a movie out of that too. I can't blame him. All in all, this right here is, one of the baddest movies of the year and one of the baddest Star Wars movies. I still think The Force Awakens was very good too. It's just different, and this movie has a little bit of a grittier feel, which a lot of people like. And of course, some people think like it isn't Star Wars anymore. Well, anyway, that's my review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I would say that the Force is strong with Disney, and the Force is wide awake ever since they acquired Star Wars. And Disney, the Force is, Disney is one with the Force, and the Force is one with Disney. So, anyhow, if you have any inkling to check it out, go check it out. There's a big chance that you may like it.